Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovias inside eFood Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, whatever you need, you can save money by keeping those costs down. Thanks to our friends at Copiers Plus, copiers-plus.com. Maybe, Joe, you can print out with Kyocera and do the big board again to explain how is it that the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers in Vegas, the Hurricanes continue to be either the favorites or, as just before we started recording, even with the Rangers tonight, which is odd going back to New York for Game 5 in an elimination.
The Canes were the favorites in all 4 of the first 4 games, which didn't make any sense in Game 2. Honestly, didn't really make that much sense in Game 4 either. Yeah, right. But here we are in Game 5, the Rangers coming off their lone loss, off a situation where they only had 1 power play total. So you know they're probably going to get some more of those. They're back home. I think if you have to expect to see the Rangers' best game tonight.
I think so.
And I think actually, if the Hurricanes can find a way to win tonight, I think they'll win the series. I think this is the hardest game to win. Number one, because I think you're going to get the Rangers' best shot. And I think at this point, the Rangers' best shot is better than the Hurricanes' best shot. That's my fear for the Hurricanes right now. But if you can win this one, now all of a sudden you put doubt into them. And doubt is your greatest ally in these situations, in these comeback situations.
I'm having a hard time understanding this because the Carolina Hurricanes are not as you like to point out, a public team. You know, like the Dallas Cowboys are a public team. Therefore, I understand why people bet on the Dallas Cowboys, right? It's a New York team. You would think that the New York team would be the public team unless New York fans are so savvy that they're fading their own squad.
No, we love to bet on hockey here because we care about it.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Even casually, we like to bet on hockey. I shouldn't use love. But I think as you're seeing, the handle on the NHL is pretty low.
Okay.
The handle, the total amount bet.
Is this kind of like college basketball parlays? A little bit low there?
A little bit. Like, this isn't the NFL, right? Like you mentioned the Cowboys.
Who was it was the Alabama baseball coach? Like, hey, buddy, a lot of this stuff is off the board. What are we doing here?
Why is there so much action on your game?
That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
And there's somebody placing the bet on a phone. Who are they talking to? Oh, you. No. The closest thing we have to a public team in hockey is Edmonton with Connor McDavid and Toronto, but you would never bet on Toronto in the playoffs because you would just either go broke or you would die or both, right? So you're not going to do that. But they do get you on Connor McDavid and the number for the Oilers. Heck, they got me last night. I thought the Oilers were going to go home and win last night. So
yeah.
The truth of the matter is, when they it's almost like when they signal to you, hey, we really think this other team is better. We saw this with Michigan and Alabama in the playoffs in college football. Remember? I kept telling you, they're telling you who's going to win this football game.
So Vegas keeps telling you, no, the Hurricanes, guys, the Hurricanes.
Vegas is trying to say, mathematically and statistically, the Hurricanes are a better team.
Yeah.
But
are they?
In reality, they are when they stay out of the penalty box. I'll say that.
Even then, the margin for error in that game was ridiculous.
Super small.
Super small in that game. And that's why going into tonight, I agree with you. Closing out a team is incredibly difficult. We saw it with the Carolina Hurricanes and Peter Laviolette back in 2006. You know, you want to do all these storylines and all tied together. It's actually funny because you had tweeted this out. I was going back to stuff from Saturday night, whether on the podcast or things that were tweeted out. And you had made the point about, I've seen this out of Laviolette before. Because, we're noted Laviolette knowers, given that his time spent here helps inform us of what Laviolette is all about, right? No, but you made this point like, man, they ain't got it. I've seen this before. Just go back home and try to.
He's not afraid to fold it up and say, hey, we don't have it tonight. We'll try to beat you. We saw this in the Buffalo series in 06. And you were there in Edmonton in the Stanley Cup Finals where it was like, hey, guess what? We're not winning tonight.
Yeah, they sucked. They sucked that night. That was a brutal night. That was a brutal night. And of course, with Laviolette and Brendan Moore, shout out to Luke DeCock, who wrote about that dynamic going into the series. And he brought back that story from game six. Yeah. Edmonton, they sucked. Straight up, they sucked. And Brendan Moore was the one who addressed the room. Laviolette walks in, sees that Brendan Moore is about to talk and goes, yeah, no, I'm going to let Rod handle this. Turn right back around. Of course, the rest is history. Now, we're talking about game 5 tonight and not a game 7, which is completely different in the Stanley Cup Finals versus the second round.
Your season's still on the line, though.
But that's why I think tonight's really, really interesting for the Carolina Hurricanes. I agree that the Rangers are going to give you their fastball. They want to close this thing out because they know if they have some days to rest for the Carolina Hurricanes, the dynamic changes on a couple of different levels. 1, goaltending. 2, what happens if Brett Pesce comes back? Now, it's possible that Brett Pesce comes back in the lineup tonight. Rob Brind'Amour was saying he was doubtful. But if he doesn't play today, but he can certainly be back. At this point, they're kind of ramping up to get things back to potentially game 6. But how do you get to game 6?
This reminds me of great conversations in Joe history.
Yeah.
I was convinced in 2012 that Kendall Marshall was going to come back and play against Ohio in the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16 because, well, you know, that he has to play because Carolina needs him, right?
They did, yeah.
And man, there ain't no way Carolina is going to let NC State get to the Final Four. Remember that year they were both in St. Louis. If you remember back now, Kendall Marshall had a wrist injury, a hand injury. Okay.
Damn you, Creighton.
The night before, we're hanging out with Bobby Fraser.
Yeah.
Our guy, Bobby Fraser. And I said, oh, come on. I'm like, he's going to play. They're going to shoot him up and he's going to play. And he goes, Joe, if you shoot up somebody's hand and they can't feel it and you're playing basketball, how effective is that person's hand going to be?
That's a really good point.
I was like, excellent point.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So now I'm thinking of Pesce.
Salts. Put Epsom salts. Put his hand in Epsom salts. You're good to go.
Now I'm thinking of Pesce, like it's a foot injury.
Yeah.
Oh, just shoot up his foot. That's hockey. What do you need your feet for? You don't need to feel your foot. So I'm somewhat skeptical that we'll see. I'll apply the same logic that it'll probably be difficult to shoot that thing up and be able to skate the way that you need to.
Speaking of Rod, he addressed the media yesterday. Goaltending was front and center, and of course, questions about Brett Pesce and his potential return.
Roddy, how do you go about making a decision and goal for tomorrow?
Oh, just like we have all along. Talk to Paulie, see how the goalies feel, make a decision.
Is there, I mean, obviously this is a 1 day at a time, 1 game at a time, 1 period, 1 shift situation. But as a coach, do you also have to kind of take the longer view and say what gives us the best chance to win 3 games in 6 days? No,
definitely not. it's what you said to start.
Right, you talked a couple times about staying out of the penalty box. Don't let them get on the power play. But last night, I think it was we went from at least 10 combined penalties in each of the first 3 games. I think 5 and a few power play attempts. Was that as simple as the message sinking in something different, or is it just the flow of how things went last night?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe more the flow, how it went, how the referees decided to call the game. I mean, the game was very physical. It had all the other elements pretty much that were in all the games, just not as many penalties.
You prefer that?
I don't know what I prefer. I mean, if your power play is going good, you want power plays. It's just kind of depends how it's going. So last night, the first one looked really good, and then we scored on the second one. It's one of those games where maybe you're like, man, we could use a few more.
Pesce, progress with him?
He was out there today, which is good. I haven't talked to him since he got off, but, I would say very doubtful still.
Is this, when you talk about we need to see him in practice, a full team practice?
Like a real kind of flow thing, and he has to give us the green light. I mean, we're definitely not going to push him into something that he's not comfortable with.
So again, that's Rod Brind'Amour talking to the media yesterday on a couple different factors. We'll see what's up with Brett Pesce. I'm being optimistic that he could potentially return for Thursday, but that's where the gamesmanship comes in.
Thursday.
So yeah, for Thursday.
Okay.
So this is where the gamesmanship comes in, and let's get it back to the goaltending situation. And what do you do?
I really wished you had hit pause. I hadn't listened to that audio.
Yeah.
I really wish you had hit pause and allowed me to guess what Rod's answer was going to be. Because in my head, my answer was the same way we always do. And I think it was almost verbatim.
It was, we're going to talk to the guys. We'll see how everybody feels. Okay, that's Rod talking. That's his usual coach speak. Here's what you do tonight. Here's what I would do if I'm the Carolina Hurricanes. You start Peter Kochetkov. It's not like Freddie Anderson has been incredibly locked in this entire series. Freddie has been good, but he has not been great. There's a potential for Kochetkov in the environment that we know what's going to be tonight. The environment that by the way, that we saw in game 3, which was very, very testy at the jump. And Kochetkov, he would skate off to the side. He actually stayed cool with it. But there's an element of Kochetkov with the physicality, how it's probably going to be a little extra tonight from the Rangers to try to draw the Canes back into putting themselves in a penalty kill situation, getting into the special teams dynamic that we know that the Rangers are better than the Carolina Hurricanes. I think you put Kochetkov out there. The other worry that I have with Freddie is twofold. It is just wear and tear. All sports at this time of the year is attrition. We'll get to that in the NBA because we're seeing that play out a couple different ways in the NBA. But the NHL is no different. It ultimately becomes a war of attrition. It becomes who is gassed, who is wearing out. Freddie, and the way that the goaltending situation has been for the Carolina Hurricanes the entire year, has been about a rotation. And they had a rotation when Freddie came back. I get you ride the hot hand. You don't want to mess with things. And I think, Rod, to your point, you're talking about how you handle and the confidence, things like that. I think Rod has done enough with Freddie Anderson so far in this playoffs between the Islanders and the Rangers to indicate to him, no, you are our guy, but we're going to have to be very, very specific with some of our decisions to make this thing go. So you start Kochetkov tonight, win the game. That's the goal. You come back fully rested, Freddie ready to go. And that's where you get into this is where the series truly changes. I'm not so confident that if they win tonight, they win the series. But I am confident that if they win tonight, they're going to get to a game 7, and that's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Tonight's the toughest game. And going to sound like Rod here. I think if you win tonight I think Kochetkov is the right play.
Yeah.
Listen, Freddie was great against the Islanders. He was the reason they won the series.
He was, absolutely.
Okay. He was also the reason they lost game 1 of this series. He wasn't good enough in game 1. I thought he was better in game 2, gave them a chance to win the game. Fair.
He wasn't rock solid in game 4.
Game 3, Kochetkov plays. The Rangers' skill took that game over. The Panarin goal in game 3 in overtime, preposterous. A preposterous play. Unbelievable high skill level play. So no problems there with Kochetkov and the way that he played. I thought Freddie, obviously they win game 4. Thought Freddie was fine.
He was fine.
But he was fine. He gave his team a chance to win. Ultimately, the team gave the chance. The team gave the chance a chance to win. That's what happened. We were in full with. I hate to say it, but because I think Freddie was on the other end of it. We were in full Zamboni driver protocols in game 4. You saw guys flying to the ice. You saw guys diving in front of pucks. Everything was don't screw up for the Canes. Going back to the game they played in front of Ayers when he came out of the stands and played goalie against Toronto and Freddie Anderson. So listen, I think the Hurricanes, you go with Kochetkov tonight. There's something to when you compete. There is something to seeing another person, and I do not know the relationship between Shesterkin and Kochetkov. Okay, I don't know if there's any animosity between them. I would guess at minimum this though. When you grow up and you compete against somebody in a system, right? And somebody says, "Hey, I'm from Ringwood, New Jersey. If somebody said to me, the kid from West Milford's better than you, and you grew up your whole life playing against the kid from West Milford, you go, I'm going to show you that I'm better than the kid from West Milford." And to the point where if we show up halfway around the world and I see the kid from West Milford, you damn sure can be certain that I'm not getting beat by the kid from West Milford.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, my limited knowledge of Russia and where everybody is from. Okay. I think Shesterkin's from Moscow. I can just look here on the sheet.
I don't even think it has to do with any sort of Russian dynamics. I think it just comes down to sports dynamics.
Both, but it's both. I'm not saying the politics of Russia.
Sure.
Shesterkin is from Moscow. Kochetkov's from Penza. I would just say to you, if there's someone that you're competing against who you know and have been competing against your whole life, you take that, you go full Jordan, you take that very personally. There's a dynamic there.
Are those two cities separated by 8 miles?
That I don't know.
No,
I don't know if this is
this is
the triangle.
Is it Vodka Road? I mean, I don't know.
That would be a great name for it. That would be an unbelievable name for it.
Oh, goodness.
Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
Big thanks to Happy and Hale for sponsoring our Canes coverage. Actually went to Happy and Hale last week, got my Bueno Bowl, which is always money. And if you would like to go to Happy and Hale when they're back here Thursday for the Canes game, you can go to section 123 and close that thing out. Have you added to your Happy and Hale extravaganza?
I am totally and completely addicted to Happy and Hale. I went on Saturday before the game.
Yeah.
over to North Hills.
Yeah.
Thai chicken crunch.
That's your new one, right?
It's my new fastball.
That's the one. That's the new fastball.
But the app, you order on the app, get a free smoothie when you download the app. If it's your birth month or within a month of your birthday, you get a free bowl. So download the app, man. Happy plus hail and take care of yourself.
We are going to have a After Dark tonight after Game 5, so stick around for that. The YouTube comments have been cracking me up.
Your 7-panel crank arm hat.
Oh, well, I can rock it tonight.
I got to see how that thing works on you.
Yeah, I'm a 5-panel hat guy.
It's a 7-panel.
So that's the thing. So I'm curious about this. It's a
very cool looking hat. It just doesn't fit me the right way.
Yeah. In fact, I've been kicking around the idea of getting OG flag hats.
Okay.
And there's a local company that does these patch hats. And of course, the one that I want to go for and drop, $300 some odd for 20 some odd hats or whatever it is would be a 5-panel hat, which would look terrible on you. But
Right.
they look good on me because that's just the hat that I rock. But
it's not all about me.
But well, actually, it is about you. People are worried about you, Joe.
They should be.
This is from the YouTube
Saturday
comments.
was tough.
I'm worried about Giglio. Gets choked up a lot these days. Raise your hands over your head in my best mom voice. And then you cramped up. Our guy Aaron thought, because he was only listening to the audio version of it, he was not watching it on YouTube. And he did text me. He's like, "Did Giglio poop his pants?" And I was like, no. He's like, the way you made it sound like he pooped his pants. I was like, no. I was making reference to the Notre Dame podcast where the guy clearly did poop his pants.
What's crazy is I cramp often.
Yeah.
But I have like weird like blood pressure medication related cramps.
Right.
It's like in my sides, it's in my back, it's in my ankles. It's never in my hamstring where it was on Saturday. Like I've never had a cramp there before in my life.
That's funny.
And the only thing I wanted to do was go outside and lay on the floor and stretch it out. And the cleaning crew was actually outside. I've never seen the cleaning crew before. Number one, there were 4 people in the cleaning crew. I was like, what are we changing a fucking tire here? What are we doing? Why are there so many people in the cleaning crew?
They're being efficient.
And then I could not lay down because they were like trying to mop up like next to my feet. And I'm just like, they're looking at me.
Definitely, because they're probably
definitely talking about me in Spanish. And I'm like,
who's this gringo who won't freaking move?
Guys, I'm in pain here. I'm in serious pain here. And you're hindering me from relieving this pain.
We went to Twitter. The window for the Stanley Cup closes after this year. 9 free agents. This is it. It's over. I think that's being somewhat dramatic from NC State Wolf on Twitter.
Not Wolf 1.
No. Don't be confused with Wolf 1. Don't be confused with that guy. I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, I think the Carolina Hurricanes under Tom Dundon have shown you that there's a specific type of player and a working of the market that they can put around a core group and still be successful. Also, maybe depending on how the rest of the series goes, they do need to mix it up. Maybe it has not been working the way they wanted to in the postseason, and they get better all around.
There's two different questions facing
the
Hurricanes.
Yeah.
One is you can talk about a window, but the real question is, are the players you're building around good enough to win the cup? That's the ultimate question.
We don't know.
Not a window.
It's
about, are you building with the right players? Are you building around the right players?
That is a serious question that they'll have to address this offseason, because who's to say that the core group isn't used as some pieces in trades to go in a completely different direction?
It's also one that Mike Maniscalco made. He said they do try every year to change the parts around that core. So now the question is, if you're just changing the parts around the core, well, maybe it's the core. That's the problem.
This gets to Ziggy on Twitter. Unpopular opinion. That might be a freezing cold take. I want it to end tonight with a sweep and move on. This was from the other night. No lead is safe with this team since they can't seem to stay on the gas while up more than 2 goals. This is just delaying the inevitable. There is that aspect of it. Like, we're just delaying the inevitable. I get it. Believe. They have to believe. Yada, yada, yada. But we kind of see where there's going to be some changes to this. Let's go to the OG sports phone. You can call the OG sports phone.
All new. These are ideas that have never been used before by anyone in radio ever.
So you can call the OG sports phone 919-444-2211. We'll get some heavy use out of the sports phone tomorrow with whatever reaction happens tonight. But over the weekend, I did put it out there like, all right, do you think this is going to happen? Do you think the Canes can pull off the reverse sweep?
Hey, Joe, calling in from Asheboro here. And I think the Hurricanes can come back from a 4 or 3-game deficit. I like the energy they're showing, and they just got really unlucky. It was kind of bullshit what happened. First 3 games, some really weak penalties, and their power play squared away. So go Canes, go Pack, fuck Carolina.
I mean, that was a stray.
Okay.
That was a stray.
That came out of nowhere. All right, one more to the OG Sports phone.
You don't think they can make a comeback? It's unbelievably pathetic. They have done this throughout this entire tenure that they've been here. This is unbelievable that that people think they can't make a comeback. It was the Carolina Hurricanes. All I've seen is magical comebacks throughout their time between the New Jersey Devils with Brodeur in fucking net. It's unbelievable that people don't think they can make a comeback. All they need to do is win a game in New York, just game 5, because I know they're going back to game 7, but if they win one game there, I don't think they're going to lose another game in New York. And you think they're going to lose a game in Raleigh? Are you kidding me? In front of that fan base? You have 3 crazy fan bases that cheer for 3 college teams that hate each other, unified under one roof, under one of their roofs. You've got to be kidding me that you don't think that the Rangers are going to win another game. And for the love of God, please, all I ask is for New York City to just not win another championship, specifically the Rangers, but like anything with New York City sports. Adios.
Love it.
Well, I mean, the Knicks, it's getting serious for the Knicks. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. So call the OG Sports phone, 919.
That's 2 good calls.
That's 2 good calls. 919-444-2211. We also have another request for the OG Sports phone that we'll get to in housekeeping. Thanks to Inovana for sponsoring housekeeping. Guess what happens tomorrow, Joe?
Come out to the house.
They're coming out to the house. It's not every day. It's not every other day. It's every 2 weeks. So just letting you know, they're coming to the house. So you'll hear about me telling you they're coming to the house. I'll tell you that they're at the house, and I'll tell you what it was like them at the house, not them every day. So check them out. Inovana.com, green cleaning solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion, trash in your cabana, get it clean with Inovana.
ENOVANA.com. I mentioned the OG Sports phone because Mother's Day was yesterday. Shout out to all the moms in the audience. We appreciate you. As my brother would joke from time to time, Ayo, birth. It's key to all these things. Now, when it comes to Mother's Day, I'm not going to do the classic radio bit of, so how was your Mother's Day not up to par? How was Mother's Day screwed up? Tell us a funny story. No, that's not what this is about.
Okay.
What we want is for you to give us a sports mom story. You could be the sports mom.
Okay.
And call the OG Sports phone at 919-444-2211. You could be somebody's spouse that just wants to give appreciation to sports mom, to get them all over, get the kids everywhere.
The only thing we ask is that mom is the one who likes.
That's all we ask.
Brown liquor.
Because we have a bottle of Eagle Rare.
We do.
That we're going to give out on Thursday to the best sports mom story.
Yes.
So you, mom, or you talking about your mom or your spouse and how they go all over the place doing the thing. Because people have been wondering, how can we get brown liquor to the women in the audience? Well, with the OG Beard Gang, don't want to do that. So we're going to do it this way. So 919-444-2211.
OG Beard Gang is about to wrap up, sir.
Yeah, if we're not careful, man. If we're not careful. So call the OG Sports phone. We're going to do that on Thursday. We do have some submissions. I think we've got a couple of calls. But we've had somebody who I guess was not comfortable calling, so they texted us like a story.
Ooh.
Which you can text the OG Sports phone.
Okay. You can?
You can text the OG Sports phone. Yes, you can text.
It's impressive.
Speaking of making calls, call Matt Davis, 919-779-8277, insuregarner.com, the OGinsurance.com. With State Farm, you get home, you get auto, you save money. That's what we do with OG listeners.
Hey, not only can you save money, but Matt's in the financial services business too. So you save that money. Maybe you want to invest it the right way. Maybe you want to plan for your retirement the right way. Give him a call. 919-779-8277. You know, every time I see Matt, saw him again. Saturday, game 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Game 4.
Game 4. Game 5's tonight.
We're now 2-0 when I see him outside of section 124. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good mojo right there. Hopefully we'll see him on Thursday.
Yeah, speaking of mojo, I'm going to have to hit the beer stick at some point today.
Today?
Yeah, man, I got to do it today. They win when I drink from the beer stick. Just saying.
I don't know how you
win.
do that to yourself.
You can win by saving 20% at rowback.com.
Yeah, the promo code actually works.
It does work, folks.
Questioning my integrity.
Hey, what? All of our promo codes have worked. What are people talking about?
OG20, save 20%. I wore my North Carolina pattern yesterday out on the golf course. It's the best golf shirt I've ever put on my body. So do yourself a favor, go get one over at rowback.com, RHO back.com. And I know some people have said to me, hey, Joe, can you buy it in stores? Like, I like to go over to the PGA Superstore or some other places. And I'm like, that's the thing. Got to go directly to rowback.com, RHO back.com. Use that promo code OG20. Save 20%. Unbelievable golf shirts. Best I've ever worn.
So it was time to get rid of some patio furniture. I mean, it's like 15-year-old patio furniture. It was falling apart. So it was time to get some new patio furniture, which I spent a good chunk of time doing this weekend, building that stuff out. And thanks to Mosquito Authority, while I was putting together said furniture, you know what wasn't biting me up? Mosquitoes.
The bugs.
No bugs. It was fantastic. So head up Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority. Check them out, bugsbite.com.
Yeah, the other thing I figure out every time I mow the lawn and do some yard work, there's another termite trap somewhere. They put these little termite bases all around the house to make sure those termites stay away. And let me tell you, someone who's had termites before from mulch, freaking store that you go and buy mulch and it just don't get me started.
I had a snake in my car once from mulch.
Don't get me started. Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority, bugsbite.com.
Yeah, that snake in the car was not cool, man. Just absolutely not cool. Denver Nuggets were questioned by the NBA media, by those online,
by me,
by you.
It's over, man.
That when Minnesota was up 2-0 in this series, the Nuggets, people started poking holes in the bracket luck is real, even in the NBA. Like, look at the teams that the Nuggets beat on their way to a championship. So while they looked dominant, keep in mind a little bit of bracket luck for them. So here they are taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. They look incredibly locked in. They've got Anthony. They got
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards,
the
thank you.
Timberwolves' best
player. I almost called him Davis. Anyway, the point is,
just call him Goose. I really wish
Ant-Man.
everyone was old enough to know that was Goose.
Yeah, Ant-Man. That's what he's all about, right? Now it's all tied up at 2 apiece suddenly. So all the questions about the Nuggets have never been challenged. How do they get out of this hole? Blah 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 blah. I think they acquitted themselves just fine. Now it's 2-2.
Yeah, quick conspiracy theory though. Like, how is Jamal Murray not suspended for throwing the heating pad on the floor?
Because it's the playoffs. That's the playoffs. David Stern
throw shit on the floor, dude. It's not David Stern. It's Adam Silver.
No, what I'm saying is David Stern is no longer with us.
Okay.
If David Stern were still I'm sure somewhere Ghost Stern would have given him a 5-game suspension. Remember, this is the same Stern who what year was it? Was the Suns? Somebody came off the bench.
Yeah,
and like everybody got suspended. If I remember off the top
Amari
of my head.
Stoudemire. That was Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire. Their only chance to win the. Yeah, and it was the Spurs, and the Spurs ended up advancing.
And how did that play out? Well, because David Stern was the commissioner at the time. It don't work that way now, man. It does not work that way. So yeah, Jamal Murray.
No, you're gonna love this.
What's that?
Because not only is Sidney Lowe an outstanding hockey analyst,
yes,
his true gift is the NBA.
Well, your best players have to be your best players. And then they have to make shots. It's the only way you can win.
Nikola Jokic, who's been the MVP of this league for 3 years in a row, was trash on a stick in the first 2 games of this series. Looked fat, looked old, looked completely out of his all of his sorts. Looked like someone who is never going to make
credit
a
to
difference.
Minnesota, though.
No,
credit to Minnesota how they were playing defense.
Absolutely. And part of it was Gobert didn't play in game 2, and Naz Reid was just all over him like a cheap suit.
Yes,
like he was just harassing him.
Yes.
So he goes from being awful he was terrible in the second game of this series, which by his standard, of course, is still 16, 16, and 8 dimes, by the way. Last 2 games, 24 points, 35 points. He's been the difference. Your best players have to be your best players. Jamal Murray as well in games 3 and games 4, elevating his game. Meanwhile, Minnesota is not an advanced offensive team other than Edwards. They don't have high volume scorers. Karl Anthony Towns has to be the second banana to him. Hasn't been able to sustain his output level. And also really just defensively, they were out. They gave up only 80 points in the second game of this series. That's ridiculous. That's an unbelievable defensive effort. 115, 117, last 2 games in Minnesota. And now I'm completely sitting here going, how did this whole thing flip? Well, sometimes it's as easy as Jokic and Murray being your 2 best players and really taking things personally, right?
Did you see the clip of Murray's half-court shot and then Kevin Harlan on the call? And Murray, he's right there. He's at half-court. He goes right to the broadcast area. And Harlan's standing up, like yelling over it. And Murray's just kind of feeding off of it. It was actually a pretty cool back and forth between the two. Speaking of conspiracies, do you buy into Rick Carlisle complaining about the officiating, sending 80 different clips of things that he felt should have gone the Pacers' way versus the Knicks, leading to the Pacers getting back into the series? Or hear me out. It's a lot easier to play defense on the Knicks if you're the Pacers when there's a war of attrition going on and the Knicks are banged up and missing dudes.
There's nothing wrong with pointing out what you think are bad calls. I think the number there for Carlisle, it did reach up into
we're getting to a point of ridiculous, number one. You know, my bigger issue with Carlisle was he tried to make it a big market, small market thing.
Right.
And that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why you found yourself down 0-2 wasn't because you're the small market Indiana Pacers. It's because you weren't playing defense. Straight up, you weren't playing defense. But
yeah, those are paint shows, those first 2 games out in Madison Square Garden.
Come on now. So it helps that Jalen Brunson doesn't seem to be at 100%, and they've focused on him, and he has struggled. And then you have OG191 out, and he might not even be back for game 5.
I don't. They're not optimistic,
and they're missing 2 key dudes from the regular season. Because I think Mitchell Robinson, we know for real, he is done. So much like hockey being a little bit of a war of attrition, I know Tom Ziller, who does a Substack that I subscribe to, that focuses on the NBA, wrote about this before the playoffs even started. You might have it in your head who you think is going to be the hot team, who's going to go, but ultimately it comes down to who can stay healthy, who can overcome missing some key guys, and the Knicks are struggling with that right now.
Yeah, it's too bad too. I would have liked to have seen them get a clean look at that thing with Anunoby at least. Never mind, Julius Randle, they played pretty much the whole season without.
Yeah.
Pacers are a weird team. I was watching a little bit of that game, the game 4, and I'm watching them going, what a weird team. Like Halliburton, who's kind of the bus driver, but not really.
Yeah.
And then they play, the mascot with him, McConnell. And it's kind of like, why do you need a point guard with Halliburton? That doesn't make any sense to me. Miles Turner is a guy who was one of these bigs who played 1 year of college basketball and has really developed like him. Pascal Siakam, as we know from Toronto. I think Anunoby and Siakam are 2 underrated players. Both the Knicks and the Pacers making deals to get them this year with their playoff experience. But the Pacers are a weird team.
Mm-hmm.
They've kind of overachieved all season, to be perfectly honest with you, given the construction of that roster. But I think it's all kind of in vain too. I think Boston really is the one that takes care of business on the East side.
One thing about the NBA, we had one other thing I should say about the NBA. They had the draft lottery yesterday.
Yes.
Which odd time. I mean, I think it was like 3:00 on a Mother's Day weekend. It's just completely buried that they had this NBA draft lottery take place. But what I found interesting is that the upcoming draft is such that people aren't really excited about it.
No,
it's not the kind of draft that people are hype about, which might explain why this one went really under the radar. And shout out to the Atlanta Hawks. They got the number 1 pick. I think the Charlotte Hornets ended up with the 6th pick.
Not 12?
Not 12 this year. Not 12 this
Bonus.
year. So I thought it was interesting that on Saturday morning, I open up the Washington Post and there's a story from Ben Golliver, who is their key NBA beat writer, their key NBA guy. And the headline reads, "Meet Cooper Flagg, the next White Duke villain and potential #1 pick. The subheadline: Flag is a top prospect for the 2025 NBA draft class and has overshadowed this year's relatively weak crop, which will be in the spotlight during Sunday's draft lottery. So we've already started with this draft sucks. The guy you got to keep an eye on is Cooper Flag. And sure enough, it's that next White Duke villain. I feel like Duke is going into its villain era this upcoming season with John Shire. I know they pulled another shooting guard out of the transfer portal. I think Sion James from Tulane. He's 6'5", 210. The backcourt needed some additions. They got it to go along with Tyrese Proctor, who's coming back. I think Caleb Foster is the only other guy that's coming back in that situation. So there you go. Everything is to build around Cooper Flag, Joe. So it starts now.
Yeah, I also think they made a mistake last year in not adding players and parts in the portal. So this year, again, it was all about how do you help Cooper Flag win? Because you're not going to get many chances like this. You've had them before, with a Tatum, with a Zion, with a Banchero, and that's the level of prospect you're talking about with Flag, and we'll see what he can do. The NBA draft's going to be funny because it's all international players.
Yeah.
And then you're going to see like 3 Kentucky players go in the lottery, and then you're going to see 2 Duke players go between like 20 and the end of the first round. And you're going to be like, so the only college players that were taken were 3 from Kentucky and 2 from Duke? Oh, okay.
Speaking of the NBA playoffs, that's heating up, obviously. You can get on DraftKings right now. Use that promo code OG24. You bet $5 and you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. But one thing that's still going strong with the Carolina Hurricanes being in the Stanley Cup playoffs, North Carolina customers can place a pregame moneyline bet on Carolina. And if they lead by at least 2 goals at any time during that game, you will win, even if they end up losing that game. So all you got to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code OG24. And again, new customers bet $5. You'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code OG24 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. 21 plus, North Carolina only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. 1 early win per opted-in customer. Max bet limits apply. Token expires at the start of the game. See dkng.co/ice for wagering eligibility and terms. Speaking of DraftKings, I did one of their threes day things.
I haven't done that yet.
It's actually it's a fun thing to get some bonus bets. So you put some money down on who you think is going to score the first 3 of the game. And then either that hits or you will get a bonus bet in return, depending on how many threes are made in the game. So I did that. I did not get the correct answer on who was going to hit the first 3. So I ended up getting $28 in bonus bets back because there were 28 threes in that. So you know what I did with it? I went ahead and I took the Canes plus 800 to win the series on DraftKings, and I put $28 down on that. And that'll pay out that'll pay out a lovely $224.
Very bold.
If that happens. Happens.
You want a baseball player of the day?
Let's go.
Are you ready for some golf?
What do we got? Well, let's do baseball and then we can get to golf because I know we got the PGA Championship coming up this week.
All right. I had my golf.
I know you have your golf bet.
I had my golf ready.
What's your baseball bet?
All right. So I read that. Okay. Let me tell you the thing I hate to do in life, right? I hate reading about gambling. Because every time I follow someone, I lose. Invariably. Anytime I follow, and I'm not talking about like some random person on Twitter. I'm talking like I go to the Action Network, I read their stuff. It's all great. It's all great analysis. And basically, they had written something a couple weeks ago about how bad the Chicago White Sox are. Well, the Chicago White Sox had won like 8 games to start in the first 30. They've won like 5 of their last 7 now, by the way. I've bet against them like in all 7 games. So I'm betting on the Chicago White Sox today. They're a home dog against the Washington Nationals. Give me the White Sox, Chris Flexen against the Nationals.
And what do you got for golf?
Golf. So I won a Rory bet over the weekend, small bet, but it's still enough to put some into the coffers for the PGA. Nobody's talking about John Rahm. This is a Bombers course, Valhalla in Louisville. Scotty Scheffler is your favorite. Rory McIlroy has won there before. These courses are set up perfectly for bombers like Scheffler and McIlroy. There's another bomber out there, though, John Rahm. We're not talking about John Rahm. I suspect John Rahm will either win this tournament or he will win in Pinehurst. The number is actually pretty good this week, plus 1,800 for Rahm. So I put some money down on the Spaniard El Nino to win this one.
Big thanks to Hometown Realty for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. Check them out, myhtr.com. Buying and selling with confidence. This market continues to be a hot market, and the last thing you want to do is go into potentially buying a home and not having all of your lineup ready to go. You're not war of attrition, all that kind of stuff. You want everybody on the same page. You want somebody putting up a triple-double on that, and that's what Hometown Realty can do for you.
Yeah, experts from here to the coast, 6 locations, more than 250 agents. You don't want to go in this and do it on your own and lose money. Again, we're all about saving you money in this program and protecting your assets. That's Hometown Realty, myhtr.com.
You buy a house, you sold a house, maybe you want to refinance, you're in that situation where you have to do it. Hey, Whitaker and Hamer can help you out with that when it comes to a closing. Check them out online, wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. I feel like we have to talk to Whitaker and Hamer about potentially getting you insurance. Maybe we should talk to Matt Davis about that at State Farm as well. But I feel like we have to have some sort of contract with your bike, which we'll talk about, because there's only one Hey Joe question that I have today, and it's related to a bike. But in the meantime, you could check them out, wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. And Joe's bike has like this happy little pouch in the front of it. Is it insulated? Because if it is, I could see you going all the way down to Two Roosters on Person Street.
Yes.
Putting a bunch
I was
of...
like, that's in the purview, but not the Butcher's Market.
No, not Butcher's Market, but you could head out to Two Roosters, get a bunch of pints of ice cream, put in your little bag, and bike it back. You could do that.
I can. Yes. And I went to Roosters on Sunday, and I have a new favorite flavor, man. That Guinness whoopie pie.
I know, you talked about it.
Give me all of May. I don't need May to end because I need the Guinness whoopie pie from now till forever.
That's funny. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the lightning round.
The lightning round. Lightning round item number 1.
There's a developing story in the NFL, Joe. There will be games played later this year.
Nuh-uh.
My sources are telling me that in September, there will be regular season NFL games. Just wanted to put that on your radar.
On Thursdays and Monday nights, too?
You heard it here first. The NFL is playing football this year. Yeah, the schedule's getting dropped this week. I think Wednesday is the official release. So this leads to 2 things. One of them, entertaining. The other one, not so much. We'll start with the entertaining. The NFL social media teams, this is their Super Bowl. I know you rolled your eyes, but it's their Super Bowl. And a lot of people will rip off what these teams will do. For instance, the Tennessee Titans, I think it was last year, the year before, did the little tiny microphone thing. They walked up to people on Broadway and they were like, hey, what logo is this? And they had no idea what it was and yada, yada, yada. And a lot of other people have kind of done that same thing. So shout out to the social media managers, the creative teams that aren't paid enough to make that kind of content. But then there's a flip side to this. And we get the drip drop of schedule release info. Like, today we find out that the Ravens and the Chiefs will open up the season. And of course, people breaking that down as though for me, it's like okay, cool. There's your opening night. Got it. Instead, I got Dan Wetzel tweeting out, kind of surprised this is the game they're going to start with. I thought this screams a mid-season, Sunday night football game. I'm like, and can we incorporate Taylor Swift into this?
Somehow.
I mean, Travis Kelce was hanging out in Paris for the Taylor Swift shows, and she even came out. I think it was show number 87s. You know what she did? She came out in Chiefs colors. Karma's the man on it, is a player on the Chiefs, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, the schedule comes out this week.
How much money does she need?
What do you mean?
Show 80s.
Yeah, show 87.
Dear Lord.
Well, she just came out with a new album. She came out with a new double album.
Again.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. Well, it's like artists usually do this. It actually harkens back to I was thinking about this because I got on a weird concert rabbit hole, like concerts that I wish I would have seen, when these bands were at the peak of their powers.
Yeah.
This is summer content like you wouldn't believe. So I want to save this when we go to off-season protocols.
We're there.
One of them, no, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. One of them was U2 after Achtung Baby had come out, and they were at the peak of their powers doing the Zoo TV tour. And there's
not Achtung Baby. Everyone in my high school went to the Achtung Baby concert at Giant Stadium.
That's the Zoo TV tour. Achtung Baby was the album.
Okay.
The name of the concert tour was called Zoo TV.
Okay.
Which was then followed up with the Zooropa extension because they had come out with Zooropa not that long after that.
Okay. That's why I was confused.
But you remember, you're a couple of years older than me.
Yes.
So in like 91, 92, I think that was when that was going on. I wasn't old enough to be like, have my parents take me out to go see Zoo TV. Unfortunately, I missed out on that. But anyway, so there's, I think U2 toured for like 2 years, almost 3 years. I think Taylor Swift's basically in the same boat. She's coming up another summer of tours because she did all last summer doing tours.
Yeah.
So anyway, just something to keep an eye on. All right. Elsewhere in the world of, I am completely lost today. What's wrong with me today?
Lightning round. That's part of the lightning round is the speed at which we move.
I am not organized today. Ohio State wants an asterisk next to their games against Michigan.
Oh,
this was from their outgoing AD,
Gene Smith.
Okay. He's like, you got to put a little something there, kind of acknowledge what was going on with Michigan at that time with the sign stealing and everything else. Y'all, stop it. We don't need that. We don't need that. Ohio State, I think this is in a weird, Ohio State's in a weird spot where they were the ones that were supposed to be the big dogs. They were the ones that continuously beat Michigan. Now they're in their feelings. They should get back to that now that Jim Harbaugh is no longer there.
In theory.
But that's another question for Ryan Day, which I'm sure will be addressed this upcoming season if they truly do not put the hammer down on Michigan. Speaking of Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, you were very excited about this because I feel like this is going to be your offseason protocols mantra.
Yes.
So here's Jim Harbaugh. He's now with the Chargers. This was from a couple days ago. He wanted to attack rookie camp with, quote, enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Staring straight at the ceiling and said to myself, it's not just another day, it's today. And maybe that's just another way of saying attack this day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. But it was a great day. And our team got bigger, got stronger. And great to see the guys out in the uniforms and playing. 3:34 in the morning, woke up.
Got up at 3:40 in the morning.
The money shot there and the keeper there is our team got bigger. The show got bigger today. Yes, literally. After pizza and the rooster, yes, the show got bigger.
The show got bigger because I keep drinking beer out of a beer stick.
The delivery.
The show got bigger because you keep eating pints of two roosters.
The team got bigger. Like there's some high school JV squad needing the off season, to get those weightlifting sessions in. Whew, it's the NFL, buddy. The team got bigger. Give it to me again. The team got bigger.
I already closed it out. I'm gonna have to save. That.
Yeah. Team got bigger.
My brother sent me this. This is from the Bruins TikTok. And I don't have the sound up. I'm just going to describe it. But it's Drake May, who was picked up by the New England Patriots in the draft, putting on a Bruins jersey with May on the back. And he was like, yeah, baby, let's go. Let's go. Of course, that's not very Carolina Hurricanes about him now, is it?
Yeah, he's from Charlotte.
And you wonder why the Stadium Series didn't highlight anybody from UNC.
Well, this isn't just paying them back.
That's why.
Yeah, he took it personal.
By the way, have we seen any Carolina Siren Sounders yet?
We had one of the stranger ones I've ever. So, okay. The Panthers start 5 offensive linemen, right? And on paper, they would start 2 of them from NC State.
Yeah.
So in theory, you would think one of those 2 offensive linemen from NC State would be one of the Siren Sounders for game 4. And you would be wrong. It would be the guy who got hurt like on the first play of the season Austin Corbett instead. It's just like, what?
That's who you bring. That's who was available. That's who was available.
Classic.
Let's get to the final lightning round item.
ACC Spring Meetings are this week, Joe. As Andrew Carter, the News and Observer, pointed out today in the paper, not going to be awkward at all, right?
No, everybody's chill.
It's not like Clemson and Florida State don't want out of the league. So I can't wait to hear the unified messages about, we're working towards XYZ.
Everyone's together.
Everybody's together, having a good time, whatever. No, we're not having a good time. No, it is not something that can be worked.
Never been closer. Never been stronger.
Clearly, Florida State and Clemson want out. That's going to be one of the things that is tied to ACC Springs Meetings. And we're going to talk to Andrew Carter about that stuff on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, you've been doing this long enough to know when a proper access piece comes out, right?
Yes.
You can sniff those a mile away, right?
I love those. Hey man, that's part of doing PR. Let somebody write about you, follow you around, figure out what you're all about.
Well,
that's a good move.
That's what Pat Forty did with Jim Phillips, apparently. This is from the story on SI today. ACC at a crossroads. Jim Phillips facing internal and external threats to the league's survival. Subheadline: looming lawsuits from 2 member schools and pressure to keep up with the other 3 conferences puts Phillips and the ACC in a perilous position. Now, I think that I understand how people who've been listening to the podcast for a long time, or who know me when it comes to the ACC, how I approach these types of things, and that I usually come at it from a very cynical point of view. But I'm here to tell you that Pat Forty did an excellent job positioning Jim Phillips, the person, and Jim Phillips, the commissioner, and how they tie together with a multi-paragraph lead that talks about him going to a Catholic church in Charlotte all the time, just consistently, and how his belief as a Catholic kind of pours over into what he does as the commissioner of the ACC. And it all leads to this very, very key paragraph. Phillips' true believer worldview expands beyond religion. It's how he sees college athletics as well. He's an idealist in an increasingly cynical space, a consensus builder in a predatory environment, a preacher of unity to a fractured congregation. He's trying to hold together a cathedral of a conference as the winds of change threaten to blow it away. And then it goes into ACC Springs Meetings beginning today at Amelia Island, Florida, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the problem with that general discussion. Here's the problem with it. And I think it actually boils down to something that was said later in the story in terms of how he is as an idealist and everything else. And it actually highlights this paragraph here, that Phillips brings a similar zeal for personal outreach to his job. He sends an email of congratulations to every ACC athlete of the week in every sport. He texts coaches after wins or tough losses, says Notre Dame Fighting Irish women's coach Niall Ivey. He's very thoughtful and engaged with us. Athletic directors often receive similar messages. Is that laudable thoughtfulness or a waste of time? Some within the league see that interpersonal pleasantry as a sign Phillips is focused on the wrong things. Quote, I don't think SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey is spending time sending out those emails, says one AD. Jim is incredibly nice, and he believes that being nice will get you where you need to go, but it's not the same as having a strategy. His strategy with ESPN is kindness. ESPN doesn't respond to kindness. You have to be so strategic and so aggressive in this business. And that ultimately gets to the heart of the problem. And I think what this illustrates is that Jim Phillips, good guy, Jim Phillips, true believer, but there's a place for you to be a true believer in college athletics. It just doesn't happen to be at that level.
I think he would have been a great commissioner in 1984. I think it would have been an unbelievable commissioner in 1974.
Sure.
He might have been okay in 92.
Sure.
Not now.
But he can still be a good commissioner at a smaller conference, a conference that's not trying to keep up.
I think he'd be better off back where he was at Northwestern. Was awesome.
Was perfect for him. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you could still be idealistic while pulling in that TV money.
You can say the same thing about me. Like, you were great at the end of no. What are you doing now, man? You should have just stayed.
I mean, how many more times can you write that same basketball story, Joe? Just saying.
I really should have retired after the 47-24 game. I'll never top that.
Yeah,
I'll
you're never able to top that one. No, so anyway, I found this piece interesting because it does get to the heart of the issue. We'll spend some more time talking about this tomorrow. In that, look, man, Jim Phillips is doing all the right things, but unfortunately, you cannot be the white hat in an industry full of black hats.
No, he's not doing
it's not going to work out your way.
Yeah, he's not doing the right things. He's doing the nice things.
Sure. Yeah, sure. We'll spend a little bit more time talking about that tomorrow. But I thought that piece leading into the ACC meetings really does set the tone for where we are as fans of the ACC. And it actually gets to my biggest issue as it relates to the ACC when trying to compete with the Big Ten and the SEC. They are not your friends.
Nope.
They are not your friends.
We're not looking them in the eyeballs.
Other presidents are in it for their schools. That's what this is all about. So the ACC has to do things in its own best interest and get over this idea that the conference can bring balance to the force. It's not a movie. It doesn't really work out that way. Sorry. We are going to be at Nature's Relief on Thursday. OG Live, 2 o'clock Thursday, Nature's Relief, Western Boulevard. I'm really looking forward to this because I need to re-up on some things. Actually, I took my last sleep gummy the other day. I needed it. Trust me. All these late nights and off schedules have been keeping me awake. Also interested in their seltzers collection. You got questions? They've got answers at Nature's Relief. So check them out, naturesreliefhempstore.com.
That's the most important thing. You might be intimidated. You might not know what you're looking for. You might not know what will suit you. Go in, have some questions, be ready. We'll be there on Thursday, Western Boulevard. Can't wait.
Butcher's Market. Thank them for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. I've got the chicken meatballs ready to go for tonight. I'm going to make meatball subs with some waffle fries. That's the move.
Sounds delicious.
Whatever marinara sauce they put those meatballs in is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if they jarred or not. I'm going to have to ask Kenneth about that, but it's really, really good. But prepared meals are key at Butcher's Market. Sometimes you just don't have time to throw stuff on the grill, prepare a meal, etc. But Butcher's Market has those prepared meals, and they're absolutely delicious. Big thanks to Breeze Through for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. You can check out Breeze Through various locations across the triangle. I've got my usual spots, and hopefully we'll be going back to Breeze Through by PNC Arena on Thursday.
Fingers crossed.
Need that coffee, man. Need that coffee. And, of course, big thanks to Sporkle. Jason, OG Scoreboard, did the trivia for us when we had our OG birthday bash. You can go to sporkle.com/OG Triangle to find more information about Sporkle. They've got various events taking place. Jason personally does the Shady's Music Trivia Night Thursday nights, 7 and 8 o'clock. And he'll also be at Driftwood Cantina over the weekend as well for traditional pub quiz. But if you're looking for a schedule, looking for some more information, head on over to sporkle.com/OG Triangle to find out more. All right, Joe, I have the question. And the question is brought to you by Crank Arm Brewing. Check them out online, crankarmbrewing.com. They're bringing us our OG After Dark, so be on the lookout for that tonight. You sent me, was this Friday?
I was inspired on Friday, or I was something on Friday.
Okay, let's see. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull this up. I gotta pull this up from you. So Friday, what was I doing Friday? I was running around doing a bunch of different things on Friday.
Nice.
But, where'd the picture go? No, this was
Friday because I went to the pizza.
Where is it?
Oh, you making the pizza?
You making the pizza? You making the pasta? Let's see. Here it is. Yeah, this was Friday afternoon at 2:11. I don't know why the picture went away. And the picture you just had it captioned, "It's happening." And it's this folding bike that I'm holding up on YouTube right now. You talked about getting a scooter, but you actually got a folding bike.
I did. It's an actual bike.
And I just hit you back with the ellipsis. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? All right. So you used it today? You used the bike today?
I did.
Do you have any OG stickers on it to make sure it's official? Official transportation of the OG?
Ooh.
All right.
I could do that. I have them in my bag.
Hold on a second. Are you gonna build this thing on YouTube? See how quickly it happens?
You want to time it? That's part of the race. It's called a Brompton, and they do this in Europe and London.
Yeah.
Where you race the bikes, but part of it is putting it together. And
all right, before you put it together, because I'm gonna have to change some cameras around. Why?
All right. So people are worried about me. I'm worried about me.
So, you're going to get on a bike.
Get a little bit of exercise, number one. Number two, it folds up. Look at the thing. It's beautiful. Number three, I could park now for free, which saves us money. The OG is like our number 2 expense is our parking, right?
It is.
So I feel like that does a lot of things. It accomplishes a lot of goals.
Speaking of which, I have to pay for parking.
See, I didn't have to worry about that. The only fly in the ointment was I went down by Hargett Street where the normal, I thought, free parking was.
Yeah.
They blocked off one of the blocks. So luckily, I had to go an extra block now.
You're ridiculous. Like, to pay to park is only $3.
Well, it's basically $6 per day.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because you're paying twice.
Although I do chance it. It's still cheaper to pay a parking ticket.
And then if you get a ticket, it's $15.
Which is not that bad.
We probably get what, two tickets a month, probably.
So all right, you gonna put this thing together?
Yeah.
Let me change up. I'm gonna hit pause on the record here real quick. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm just gonna, because we're not live today on YouTube, so you're just getting the premiere on YouTube. So I'm gonna hit pause here real quick so I can make sure I can switch the camera out. So just hold on just a second. All right, I've switched cameras. I'm holding it up. Joe's picking up the bike. You guys are getting a real behind-the-scenes look at OG Media Studios here, Eford Studios. Again, big thanks to Empire Properties. So it comes with like a little bag.
You want me to do it right here?
Yeah, just do it right there, man. Just do it right there.
Here's the bike.
Yeah, okay, you got the bike.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do play-by-play here. All right, so you got the seat all the way up.
Seat goes.
That just looks like, that already looks uncomfortable. Okay.
Kick it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Kicks it out. Opens up. Oh, that's very key. You got to close that part, or otherwise it's going to collapse on you, and then your neck's really going to bother you, isn't it? Can't be having that now, can we? All right, so it's locked in. Now it comes with a little bag that you put on the front.
Yep. Hang on.
Is that where you put your book bag? You're not strapping it to your back? Because that's how I used to go to school. I had my LL Bean bag back in the day with my initials on the back. It was a good look. And that just looks like it should be holding shorties is what it should be doing.
Basket.
Okay, you got your basket. You put your bag in there.
Bag in the basket. And you can actually tighten it if you want.
Okay.
I'm gonna put the
You gonna put the sticker on? Well, but I'll tell you what, how about you write off and then we're gonna close out this podcast. So this is perfect for crank arm, by the way. We gotta get a crank arm sticker on there too.
I know.
Because you could probably put crank arm beer in that basket if you want.
Well, they were the ones who kind of inspired
They inspired you with the bikes?
Do you have bikes?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we have a thing.
Hold on a second. Go talk now with that microphone. I turned it on.
They were like, yeah, we have bikes, but they're $20 a day. And that's where I was like, you see, I can save money.
You can save money that way. All right. Now, where are you putting that thing? Were you putting that sticker?
Right here or?
Yeah, put it there. Yeah, put
here?
Yeah, put it right there. Put it right there. You're gonna have to wrap it.
Out, or?
You're gonna have to wrap it. Okay. And it should be facing out, but it's too late now. Don't worry about it.
Well, I want to know.
Yeah, you want to know what kind of bike you're on. That's important.
Stickers on.
All right. So for the sake of this, you're just gonna write off.
You're gonna get your phone.
No. We're just gonna have you write off into the hallway. Bye, Joe. Don't eat it. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We will see you tonight for an OG After Dark. Enjoy.